Thank you. I've been sitting with this experience for months now, and it's formed into a very visual question, but I'm going to try to find the right words without making it confusing.
Okay.
Because I feel, and part of it is I'd like your help in untangling me from this place I put myself based on your teaching, based on some of the things you've said. So really, my experience of awakening and the suchness, all beings made of the same suchness, and I like to use the ground of being, like the ground of potential, where that's the nothingness is more of it's just infinite, vast potential of things prior to experience. It's very clear. It's very with me, and that searching for awareness has let go. It's more, if I put it in perspective, it's more towards living in awareness as awareness than looking for awareness. And you've talked about how when you have these deep awakenings, most times, most people have a lot of residual. You've used a mound of karma, and the erosion of the personal will over time after this experience.
Or sometimes before that starts, too. But often afterwards it really kicks into gear,
Well, but I think what I'm doing because of that, and I had plenty of karma and personal will left after all my experiences, that though, and the beauty of the awareness is that it's complete, everything's fine. It's completely non-judgmental. And there is a strong personality saying, oh, look, I have so much work to do to clean all this karma up. I'm here. I've found meaning in, this is why I'm here, to clean this karma up. And I'm almost creating a bigger pile or existing the eroding. Because I'm here, because it's still here, so I have something to do. And I'm very motivated by it. I found meaning in that. And the awareness is sitting back going, it's okay, sweetheart. It might take you 40 lifetimes then. And I'm feeling that I'm creating this instead of allowing it to erode. And allowing it to dissipate. So I'm here for your help.
Okay.
That delusion.
I know. I really appreciate you explain that in a really, really clear way. And because it's a subtle thing, right? It's a subtle thing that it's easy for like our mind to take on something as like, okay, now this is now the task of my life or something like that, rather than, this is when I talk about, say, when people have awakening, and in almost every case, every case probably, there's various amounts of, doesn't mean you suddenly become perfect. There's various amounts of sort of karma or conditioning that can still be operating. And okay, so that's often the case. And if you have a more benign attitude towards it, like, okay, you're not doing it in order to find self-completion, because as you said, in the ground of being, there's already completion, right? It's already whole, complete. Everything's
fine.
Everything's totally fine. So I wouldn't take this on as like a project, right? Like, okay, this is now what I have to do. It's more, my intention when I've talked about that stuff is more like when something arises that seems to be out of step or out of harmony, right, with the truth of being, that then at that moment, that is an opportunity, right, to see into the nature of that sort of conditioned impulse, to and to help in various ways that we won't go into now, because I've talked about them a lot, but also is to kind of let that little karmic piece of momentum, right, find its home in the ground of being, right? It comes to its own clarity. So this is something that often happens, and yet it doesn't have to be taken like, okay, now this is my new mission, right? Because if you get too much like this is my mission, then the ground of being can become kind of clouded, and you can feel like, oh, I'm not settling as much as I.
There's a whole mountain in the middle of the vast field of the mountain of karma. Like I'm creating this obstacle within this vastness, and I can see it. I can feel it. Which feels clouded. It feels very obscuring.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying how I'm wrapping myself up in the idea that I have so much to clear before I can actually be clear, but it doesn't ring true to me.
Well, it's not
That's
true.
why I'm calling you. It doesn't ring true. So,
yeah.
But I'm still doing it.
So why can't you just put it down?
I think because then that would mean that I had an awakening that was full and complete. That's quite rare.
Well, you could put it down and then find out. How about that? Right. Just put it down, because this is the paradox. Is any genuine awakening, the experience of it is full and complete. That's the experience of it, right? That's the nature of it. Full and nothing needs to be done. Nothing further has to be accomplished. To me, to acknowledge that which is full and complete, right? That's the nature of any genuine awakening, and that's true. That's absolutely true. And if that's okay, if that's it, and there's just a seamless functioning from that all the time, then great. If any moment arises that seems like it's not a seamless functioning of it, then you can just look at that. But you certainly don't need to take, that on as sort of a project that keeps you from resting in the completeness of being. I think to take it on as kind of a project or something that's its own karma, isn't it? That creates its own
I'm
mountain.
Creating it, but it's
right.
The personal will. It's the mind creating something to do to keep itself here.
Yes. Yes.
Which makes me laugh because I'm saying it. It sounds ridiculous, and yet I'm still doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Why do you suppose it keeps happening? If you know it's ridiculous.
Because I'm very strong-willed. There's that mind part. I just said that. It's because I want to be here.
Yeah.
But that's not even coming from the deepest place.
I know.
That place.
Well, there's the wholeness of being, right? It can be simultaneously true and simultaneously experienced, that there's wholeness and completeness through and through. And in that wholeness and that completeness can be, in this sense, some manifestation of a kind of personal will that's unnecessary, right? That doesn't mean that the wholeness and completeness isn't whole and complete. It's still whole and complete, but we can have wholeness and completeness right in the middle of some experience of being that feels less than whole and less than complete. Now, that's a real paradox.
Audio, I've lost you.
Oh, you lost me? Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I hope you can hear me on the...
Wait, you're there.
Okay. I'm sorry for the phone difficulties tonight. Okay, so if you...
Thank you.
Okay. I'm just going to we're just going to hang up there. And I hope she gets an opportunity. I hope right now she can hear me on the computer, or this will come through in a couple of minutes, because we did lose the call. Something just weird was going on with our phones last week and this week, and we're still trying to figure it out. So apologize for that, for the whatever's going on with the phone lines. But nonetheless, I mean, this has been the whole, in a certain sense, a kind of one of the themes of the evening too, is it's part of what we see. That's the beauty of becoming clear, as you realize your essential wholeness and completeness, that nothing needs to be added, worked out, changed, evolved, or otherwise, right? In order to realize that, right? And we can have that experience of being, and simultaneously, right in the middle of that sort of perfection of being, there can be the arising of an unnecessary sort of manifestation of personal will, or some old belief system, or some old relational pattern. And the trick is just to accept the wholeness of being, the always and already awakened state, and with its kind of perfection, and simultaneously being open to anything within you that doesn't seem to be totally whole and complete and awakened. So yeah, you can, what often people try to do is they just try to grab on or only pay attention to their wholeness and completeness, and everything else is just the play of phenomena, and I don't grab it and I don't do anything with it. That's one approach. But often some old dysfunctional patterns can be dissipated simply by doing that, having that approach, but not all of them. In fact, maybe not even most of them. That we can have wholeness and completion at the same time that we're coming into wholeness and completion. This is what non-duality in its truest sense really means. The way that this was put in the Buddhist tradition, the Zen tradition, I should say, that I came from, is in the experience, the deepest experience of being and always becoming. Always being Buddha, always becoming. Always being whole, complete, and perfect, right? And that is just way there to be discovered, no matter what state you may be in. You're whole, complete, that you are already and always the divine Buddha nature. And simultaneously, that Buddha nature is also in a state of always becoming what it always and already is. Now, conceptually, I understand that makes no sense. All I can say that at the deepest experience of being, that paradox isn't even viewed as a paradox. It's just part of the experience of being. Always being Buddha, always becoming Buddha. Always being the self, always becoming the self. And this has been reported from realizers for literally thousands of years, where no aspect of being is being rejected, no aspect of being is being held on to, but there's an embrace of the whole of it, even if it seems paradoxical. How can something that's whole and complete be in a state of becoming and still remain whole and complete? Well, that's the difference between deep and direct experience and spiritual philosophy, which would grab either at completeness or not completeness as its truth. In direct actual experience, these two are simultaneously unfolding. So the always becoming can be done without anxiety, without a sense of that you need to pass a goal line when you can finally say, now I'm whole and complete, because wholeness and completeness is there all along. But you're not grasping onto that as a means of denying confusion or, some other state of delusion or confusion, that there's no grasping at all. And so you're open to the entire experience of being. So I think that last call was a great way of articulating that experience, and how paradoxical it can be. Okay.